Hi there, and I've just received an absolutely huge package from eBay. And just to give you a bit of scale to show you how big it is, and also a slight clue to what's inside, here's a minifig. So I recently won this set on an eBay auction, and I got it at a price which I was really pleased about. Now it is vintage, it's from the 1980s, and it is Lego Space, but it's not what I would call Lego Classic Space. Now if you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you'll be very familiar with what Lego Classic Space is, as these are the Lego Classic Spacemen who populated the theme. But these guys were only actually around for 9 years. They first came out in 1978 with just two colours in white and red, and 9 years later when they retired in 1987, they'd only been joined by 3 other colours, yellow, blue and black. So these are the only colours that LEGO Classic Spacemen originally came in. But that same year that the last few classic space sets were created by LEGO, they also started creating LEGO Futuron sets. Now they took 4 of the 5 existing classic space colours and made new uniforms using a diagonal stripe, still using the classic space logo on the corner, but these were printed on a white torso, so we didn't have an all-white Futuron spaceman. Now Futuron only lasted around 4 years, from 1987 to 1990, and at some point I'll make a video on all the other space themes that continued on after that. But let's get back to that package from eBay. Now over its 4-year run, LEGO only actually made 18 Futuron LEGO sets, and this one is probably the most famous. And it's set 6990, and it was called Monorail Transport System. And it came out in 1987, the first year of Futuron. Now LEGO only ever released 3 monorail sets, and this was the first one. Now I don't know what the original UK price was for this set, but in America it was $155, which back then would have been the most expensive set LEGO was selling. And those $155 back then, adjusted for inflation today, is about $446. If you want to get hold of one today though, the average used price is about £470. And if you want one new, sealed in its box, it's going to cost you about £1,600. Which is why I was so pleased to win this eBay auction for only £342, especially as it still comes in its original box, and I'm hoping the content is in as good shape as the box is. So I bought this from a lady called Vicky, who's the original owner and has had it from new, and even though I don't know what she actually paid for it back in 1987, I do know where she bought it from. If you live in the UK, you'll probably recognise this set of numbers, 3 numbers with a dash and 4 numbers, is pretty much certainly an Argos catalogue number. So she bought this from Argos way back in the 80s. The set uses the classic 80s 9-volt system, and over the years I've done quite a few different videos on 9-volt sets. All the 9-volt sets were compatible with each other, using the same cables, including the 9-volt train sets and the 9-volt city sets with their flashing lights and sirens. So it's taped up at the bottom here, so we're going to cut that open ever so gently and have a look inside. And I love the sets from this era with this huge lid with many pictures inside showing you all different features about the set. And then on the inside you have a cardboard tray with various plastic inserts to hold the pieces in place, most of which seem to still be in place. Then if we close the cardboard lid, the whole top part can be lifted off to reveal all our wonderful pieces underneath. We've got a nice instruction book which isn't too creased. A couple of the pages have come unstapled from the rest of them, but still they're still in pretty good condition. If you've ever bought anything from Pick-a-Brick on Lego.com, this is what we had way back in 1987. It was just a few items on a sheet, and I used to look at these and gaze longingly at them, wanting to buy all the different parts that I could. And there you go, checks and postal orders should be made payable to Lego UK Limited. Please allow 21 days for delivery, and the postage and packing was 35p. Now Vicky did say in her listing that it wasn't complete, but I did check with her and the parts that are missing are very minor. The important things like all the minifigures, we've got 3 yellow Futuron and 2 blue minifigs in this set. There's also a very important transparent blue piece which only ever came in this set, and if you're ever buying it, that's the piece you definitely want to check is included in the set. And I'll show you that piece a little bit later on. Down this side we've got lots of white bricks, and then behind them we've got our 9-volt battery box. This is our 9-volt monorail motor, and then these two are our monorail carriage bases. As you could see from the picture I showed you on the front of the box, the track curved up and down, so we had different height stanchions to support it. And then over on this side, I'm so pleased we've still got the original plastic insert. You can take this lid off, then you can see all the pieces of track sitting in their various different holes which are made specially for them. And then we've got a couple of stanchions and our huge blue clear dome pieces which you build part of the monorail station out of. And looking behind the pieces, there is something back there which is completely unexpected. If I take this plastic piece out, underneath are the two regular old grey base plates, a 16 by 32 and a 32 by 32. But underneath that is something that I have never ever seen for sale before. And it's a cardboard backdrop, which you're meant to put behind your monorail as a backdrop scene. As you can see, it's fairly big. It's slightly wider than a 32 by 32 base plate. And it's about 1.5 base plates tall. But for a piece of cardboard, which is going to be 40 years old next year, this is absolutely in perfect condition. I've seen a couple for sale with monorail sets before, but normally they're fairly bent or creased or they've got mildew all over them, but this one is absolutely perfect. It looks like Vicky's never even taken out of the set. So that's a very unexpected find in the bottom of this set, and something which I'm going to make sure I keep in its absolute pristine condition. But now it's definitely time to get all this set up, so I'm going to build the individual items here on the build desk, but the track is far too big to set up here. So once all the separate items are built, we're going to take the whole lot indoors and set the track up inside the house. So the front page gives us 5 Futuron minifigures and this little space scooter thing. The printing on all the minifigs torsos is still in really good condition, and I presume that you're meant to ride this scooter standing up. But apart from the instructions on that front page, I can't see this in any of the other set pictures, so hopefully later on we'll find out where it's meant to live. And next it's on to the first monorail car. So that's the first car done. This is not the one holding the battery box, it's one that holds the container. And you can see this container opens up and we can store a little walkie-talkie and a spanner inside there. And I've never noticed this when I've looked at this pictures of the set for dozens of times over the years. I've never noticed that those two round red bricks are actually the engines of that little scooter that we made. So that's where it lives. That's why you can never see it in pictures, because it's always tucked away inside the monorail car itself. A few things that I really have loved doing this is you just don't see large pieces in this dark transparent blue colour anymore. It's absolutely amazing. Also, Vicky, who had this set before, looked after it amazingly well. There's no yellowed white pieces at all. It's all still in pristine white condition, maybe slightly dirty in a few places, but yeah, all good so far. We've built the first car. Now we need to build the attach the motor and build the second car. So that's the other car built, and it's obviously the one with the 9-volt battery inside it, as you can see from the printing on the side. And another few things to note. Firstly, the cable on this car is only one plate thick on the plate on the end of the cable. Now these were much more common, is coming as 2 plates thick. I think this was an earlier version. I've never had one of these before. It's a lot more streamlined. It's nice to have a nice thin cable. It just clicks on there and is the same level as the 2 plates, 2 tires beside it. The few pieces that Vicky said was missing, firstly was the red cover on top of this light, which goes on top of the battery box. But fortunately, in my little plastic bag of light covers, I can see I've got a red one. So you can open that up and replace that piece. Even if I hadn't got one, they literally are only 1 pence, so it wouldn't have cost much to replace. And if we turn this on, hopefully that should light up. Yes. The other thing with the 9-volt system, I've said this on a couple of other of my videos, is that the clever system was that you could have it this way around and it was on solid, and if you turned it 180 degrees, it would also flash. The other piece that I know is missing is one of these blue cones. If you turn this around, you can see we've got one missing on this side, but also handily, if I look at my cones pieces, I've got a couple of those in here. So that again is a nice easy piece to replace. It's not the blue piece, which is incredibly rare and incredibly expensive to replace, which we'll come on to later, and I'll show you which piece that is. And then lastly on this car is a build technique. Well, it's not even a technique, it's a piece. We've got this double opening cab piece, so we've only had the single cab on the front, but we've got it opening to there and opening to there. And I do prefer these earlier 80s hinges, which just hinge up and down. Later on they went to this click hinge, so they would only be able to be set at certain positions. I much prefer these older hinges, which are continually variable. But the piece I wanted to draw attention to were these panel pieces here. Now these are 1x2 panels, which are only 1 brick high, and if you stick a whole bunch of them together, they look like bricks from the side without studs on top. However, this piece has changed over the years. If I change it, I don't have a white one, but if I change it for a blue one that I've got, you'll notice that they curve in nowadays. Can you see there's a slight indent there and indent there? So when you close it down, you then kind of get a curved effect along the top. Change another one over. Like that. So you can see you get 2 tiny little gaps on every time you join 2 of them together. So again, it's a piece which I much prefer the old version of. You get these and then they butt up right next to each other, and then there's no gaps between them. I'm not entirely sure why LEGO changed them. If you know, please do let me know in the comments, because I think the older version was much better. And then just one thing I found slightly amusing on the first car, if we open these up and we actually take that canopy off, you'll see we had a 2x2 plate, and then on top of that we put a 1x2 plate and a 1x2 tile. Now nowadays that would be one piece. You can get a modified 2x2 with 2 studs and a smooth part on it on the other side. And I just thought it was amusing that I take those pieces for granted nowadays, and I'd totally forgotten that way back in 1987 that piece didn't even exist, so they had to make it up out of 2 other pieces. So that's the train complete. Now we're going to move on to the upper monorail station. So that's the upper monorail station complete, and you can see we've got our stop-start track piece in the middle here, so we can make it turn one way, the other way, or stop in the station. Another thing I've never noticed, even though I've looked at images of this set many times before, is that we've got a small lift here, or an elevator, and you can see by turning this brick here, we can raise that platform, I presume, for either the containers of the monorail or people itself can stand on here and come up to the station and be lowered down again. The last pieces that Vicky said were broken in the set were these small Technic arm pieces. You can see that here we've got only 1/2 of the clip remaining, and we're meant to make lots of these little, I presume they're meant to be lights or something shining down onto the monorail station. So we've got one working there, there's 3 others and they're all broken, but I've got lots of those in my Technic spare, so I need to go and look at some of those. Although I do need to apologise, while I was building these pieces and looking at that little pot of transparent red pieces that I've got for the set, I did find the cover for the light for the train, so I do apologise Vicky, you did include that one. That wasn't one of the missing pieces. So like I said, that's the upper monorail station complete. We're now going to move on to the much larger lower monorail station. Now the lower monorail station uses these huge transparent blue quarter dome pieces, and I just wanted to show you what a good condition these pieces really are in. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you may remember last year I bought a huge job lot, and that had some pieces from this set in it, and I got 2 of the quarter dome pieces. So if I put this set behind it and reflect the ceiling light in, you can see all those surface scratches around here, and I thought these ones for 40 years old were in pretty good condition. However, if I get one from the set I've just bought, apart from a few fingerprints, you can barely see a single surface scratch on that at all. They really have been kept well. And so that is the lower monorail station done, and it's got an incredible play feature, which again I haven't really noticed just looking at pictures from the actual set. As you turn this brick here, it's got another rack and pinion gear system, and as it rolls the whole system forward, with the clever use of just one hinge plate and a couple of turntables underneath, it forces this piece to open up. So instead of being in diagonal corners to each other, opens up, and so they are next to each other. And we've got this panel here which is the same shape as that cargo container for the monorail, so it's kind of moving it forward and presenting it to the monorail, which would be stopped on the track here. We've got these two stanchions holding the dome pieces up, and on each of those we've got a little control panel, so you can have a minifig in there controlling the whole system as it moves along, guiding the containers either towards the monorail or back inside. Now, in case you didn't know already and you've been wondering what the transparent blue piece I've been talking about, which is incredibly rare, it's this blue aerial piece here. Now, aerials have been in LEGO space sets since 1978, since they first came out. However, in transparent dark blue, they've only ever appeared in this set, and you get two of them in this set. So if you're ever missing one of these, they can cost £10 or so on Bricklink and on the secondary market. So if you're ever buying this set, make sure it comes with two blue aerials. If not, make sure the price reflects that you're going to have to spend about £10 each to replace them. And then the last thing we have to build before we can take everything inside and set it up is this little cargo container carrying buggy. So the last thing we've built is this little space flyer. It's sitting on these little engine pieces, which I used to love that part when I was a kid. I had lots of them in light grey for classic space sets that I had. And it's got another container, the same as we've got on the back of the monorail, on the back of it. And then we can open up these two side pieces which are holding it in place, and remove that and add it to the monorail, or put it into the lower monorail station with that cargo dock that we saw that can move in and out towards the monorails, the monorail track itself, and then lock it back in, ready to be transported somewhere else. So the last part of the instructions gives us this quadruple page spread showing how to set the whole thing up together. It gives us instructions on the stop and start piece of track there, and then also how the motor works with the little switch on the side of it. And then we're going to take all these pieces inside and build them up. The last few pieces I've just got to build these little line side accessories, so I'll build those when we get inside. We've got all the stanchions to put underneath the track. It lowers and raises, so we slope down here. We've got a smaller stanchion there, then we're on the ground level to the lower station. Then again we slope up with one of those mini stanchions here, then going up to the full height up here. I also have an awful lot of monorail track. I've got 2 sets of the airport shuttle set and lots of spare bits of track, so once we built this, hopefully we'll set up a little bit of a larger layout and see how we can go around that. So we've got everything inside now, and just in case you're unfamiliar with monorail track, you get various pieces. You get straights and curves, and they have studs on the side like that, so you kind of link them together. There's little notches and grooves, so they link together like that, and then you join the 2 pieces together with a 1x4 plate like that, one on the outside and then one on the inside. And then the stanchion pieces, that handily creates a 2x2 area for the stanchion to connect to like that, and then that holds the track up. So to my regular viewers, apologies if you were expecting a sparkly kitchen floor, but to save my knees crawling around on granite for half an hour, I thought I'd crawl around on a nice carpet for half an hour. So we're in the sitting room instead of the kitchen today. And this is the complete setup exactly as it's meant to be in the instructions. So first of all, we're going to turn on the battery box and telling us we've got power because the red light is flashing away quite happily. We've got this in the stop position, so if we turn it, rotate it so it points that way, hopefully the train will move off in that direction. And it does. And that motor is pretty good. It's going at a decent speed and moving along quite happily. Let's stop it again here. There you go, so we're in the stop position, it stops. Now we'll send it off in the other direction. Of course, we've got another stop-start piece up in that station up there, so we could, which is set to that direction, so it's going to come back to us. And then this will send off in that direction again. So let's change this one so it goes straight through. And it does. And then we'll send it back in that direction. And then this time we'll turn this to stop, and hopefully it'll stop in the upper station. Pretty good. Now, because we have these slopes which go from the upper level to the lower level, it means the connection to the motor on the back of the train has to be fairly flexible. So where those join, you can see that this piece is actually slightly hinged, which allows for the 2 pieces to flex as it goes down, and then you can see they bunch together when they come up at the bottom of the curve, and obviously they spread out when they're at the top of the curve. So this is an absolutely amazing set. I've always loved it, I've always wanted to get it, but it is fairly limited with just 1 oval of track, so we're definitely going to have to get more track out and make a larger layout. I've got 2, like I said, of the airport shuttle. That was the first monorail set I got many years ago, because I really love the Lego monorail system, but obviously this one, because of my love of classic space, I needed to get this one at some point too, so I'm really pleased I've got one, and also in such good condition as well, including the box and the instructions. So you can see it's going around quite happily. This motor on its own is quite expensive to get hold of because they're in fairly limited supplies nowadays, and quite often you can find that they're a bit stuttery or they run slow. But this one is in really good condition as well. I don't know how much this set was played with by its previous owner, but the motor's still in really good working order. So what I think we need to do is get some other track out and make this set a little bit bigger. So if we take a walk from the floor over to the sofa, you can see here we've got, this is my airport shuttle set. It's in a very tatty box, but I'm generally not worried about the condition of the boxes they come in. You can see again it's one of those sets with the flap which comes up and shows you all the different features of the set, and then that's all the pieces, and there's that amazing airport shuttle. The one difference between the first set and this one was that the Lego motor on this set had a red cover on it, so if you lift that off you can see it's the same motor underneath. However, this is also an incredibly rare piece. It only ever appeared in this one set. The other 2 space monorails didn't have covers on the motors, they just had them in their original white form. And then moving along from my airport shuttle set onto my other airport shuttle set. This one doesn't have a box, but it's still in good condition. It's got the instructions there. The only thing missing from this set was the set of minifigures, but I've started replacing those so the set will be complete again. And then moving on from that, I've got a huge box of spare bits of track which I've collected over the years. And in here, as well as the pieces of track we've already seen, which are the curves, the straights and the ramps, there's 2 other pieces of track which Lego made, which didn't come in the original space shuttle space set. And that's these, which is extra little mini short straights, and also these which are switch tracks, so you can be moving along and decide to go off on this curve or along on the straight. And at the time when the track extension set came out, both the space set and the airport shuttle set were available. So it shows you what you can do with the airport shuttle plus extension pack. Just go see different layouts and ideas, but then it changes to what you can do with the Futuron monorail and the extension pack, and give you a few ideas of layouts for them as well. But just before I show you the layout which I've set up, a very quick shout out to all my channel members. Thank you ever so much for your support. It really is appreciated and it helps the channel out very greatly. And if anyone else would like to become a channel member and get their name on a brick in my videos, you can click on the join button below or the link in the description and that'll tell you how. Or alternatively, if you want to support the channel in another way, if you're buying from lego.com, please use my affiliate link. It doesn't cost you anything, but Lego give me a small commission on everything that people buy. But let me zoom out and show you the complete layout. So in true Lego movie style, we didn't follow any instructions. I just started laying bits of track until I came up with a layout which I was quite pleased with. And as you can see, we've got the basic elements, the lower station and the upper station, but instead of just going round, we curve off to the right underneath the upper station and then come back round here, loop up and round, and then we get to it finally over there. So let's set this monorail going. Slightly collided with the space buggy then, but all good. And up to the little climb, it slows down ever so slightly going up the hill, but not too much. Round the corner, through that little arch, through to the upper station, and then it speeds up going down the hill, and you can hear that motor whirring away as it gets quicker going down the hill. And like I said, I'm still so amazed by this amazing play feature which Lego had created way back in '87. That as you roll this forward, the whole thing opens up and moves the container closer to the track, ready for being put onto the monorail. And we'll stop it here. So you'll have to let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more of Lego monorails in future videos. I have, like I said, got these pieces off the haul that I got last year, which is 2 of the quarter dome pieces and 2 of the straight pieces, which are on that station over there. I also recently bought this on eBay, which was an incomplete set. It's set 6953. It's something called laser rocket launcher or something, but it doesn't have any minifigures, but it does have the main parts of the station and the blue glass pieces, and I thought if we removed the launcher part here, that would also make a fairly good monorail station with the train coming through the middle here if we removed this piece here. So let me know if you'd like me to do a few mocks and build something else for this monorail for the future on minifigs. So all that's left to say is let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you've liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. But above everything else, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe for more LEGO videos.